And
All right, girlfriend. Oh my God, I'm so excited already. I know this is going to be a good conversation. We have Erica Wright with us today. She is a codependency counselor who, with her blunt straightforwardness, loving kindness, and a strong Boston accent, helps people get out of their own way and have a better life. I mean, what's better than that? We all need to get out of our own way, Erica Wright. Thank you so much for
yeah,
being here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so first and foremost, I need to know how how you stepped into this world of
Yeah.
codependency. And I imagine you found yourself at one point or another codependent in a relationship.
Oh my God. I was, so I was born in Boston, raised Catholic, which is a recipe to be essentially the world's most codependent person, you
Mm-hmm.
know, just like, and I think also being a female, right? We are
Mm-hmm.
conditioned and groomed to learn how to make other people happy before we can even walk, so it's coming at you from all sides. And for me, you know, I had all these pinnacle moments in my life, which I have a podcast that's sort of like a memoir, and you can listen to that were defining moments for me, basically, on how to make sure that everyone around me was comfortable and sacrifice myself in the process, right? And it's like, as far as I'm concerned, everybody's innocent. I'm not mad at anybody about it. I think codependency is a byproduct of hundreds and hundreds of years of organized religion, patriarchy, colonialism, settlerism, racism, all the isms that, it's like all the
Mm-hmm.
language that we have for it now. And I don't think it's possible to be a person that is from the United States of America and not be codependent. It's like you can decide it's not a problem, really, at any point.
But the problem for so many, I think, is the lack of awareness about the
Yeah,
fact that they themselves are in fact
that's right.
codependent,
That's right.
and and that a divorce itself does
Yeah.
not end the codependency. So
No.
before we dive all into that, what
Yeah.
is your definition on codependency and how can you see for yourself if this
Yeah.
is something that you're struggling with?
Yeah. So, as far as my experiences, when you look up the definition of codependency, okay, it's basically rooted in addiction and alcoholism behavior. That's where it like sort of first came up and was coined. I think that it has outgrown that container. Okay. So for me, basically, it is manipulation and control of anybody's feeling states, people that are not you and you. Okay. So it's basically it's a control issue, trying to control how you are perceived, trying to control how people feel about you, and then there's like working harder at someone else's life than they are, doing things for other people to your detriment habitually, lying to manage someone else's feeling states or experience of you, explaining yourself to manage someone else's feeling states, right? See, it all
I
goes
think
to
there's
that.
so many people listening right now that are like, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
involving yourself in business that isn't yours, supporting someone in being small, weak, fearful, addicted, and angry, yourself included, and sacrificing your own well-being in the service to the interest of others habitually. So basically, it's a cheap substitute for the authentic exchange of love. It's also a path of protection and non-vulnerability.
So is codependency just a fancy word for enabling?
Yeah, I think it's part of it. I think enabling is an aspect. It's a tendril of codependency. I think dishonesty is a tendril of codependency, and manipulation is a tendril of codependency, right? So it's like all of the intimacy that we're looking for, okay, which is ultimately connection,
Hmm.
married, divorce, whatever, comes from transparency and vulnerability.
Yes.
you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, you can have that after divorce. And here's the important part is like, it's not a one-way street. So it's like you can absolutely stop being codependent with another person.
Right.
And
And
they
of
might
course, yeah,
they
I
might
was going to
be,
say, go ahead.
yeah. No, you.
No, I was going to say, you you might recognize this, but the
That's
problem
right.
is recognizing this because so many people, when I start working with them, men and women,
That's
and
right.
I use the term codependent,
Right.
And I don't always necessarily use it in a bad way. I do think on some level, anyone who's been married for an exorbitant amount of time in today's
Sure.
day and age, more than 5 years, you become codependent in certain
That's
ways.
right.
It's not
That's right.
necessarily like extreme and enabling, but
Right.
it's how you survive together, right? And the
That's right.
second I say to somebody or try and point out that the paper divorce, the legal divorce does not cut the codependency, they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not codependent. If I were codependent, I wouldn't have been able to get divorced." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, let's look at some of the patterns and behaviors here and how we show up in our communication and how
That's
we're
right.
trying to put out fires for them that we didn't even start, right?" Like,
That's right.
and then you start to point out these patterns and they're like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
codependent." So why don't we
Yeah.
see it? Why don't we recognize it?
I think it's covert, and I think we okay. I also think we're just getting to a place in our society and culture where we have words to talk about our experience. And here's the most important thing I want to say on this fucking podcast is this shit is brand new material. Okay. Women have been property for hundreds of years. We have never been here before where we can go, you know what? I don't like this relationship. And legally, I can fucking leave. Oh, and I don't actually want to marry you or have kids with you. This is a first. It's like I am 51 years old and a female person in the United States could open a bank account in fucking 1972. So the fact that we should know all this and we should be great at relationships and we should know what's going on, it's absolutely it's insane. We
Yeah.
have no idea. This is an experiment and we're right here, right? Of what is it like to raise children after you are divorced?
Well,
This is new.
it's really, yes, and it's hard as hell, and there is no
Yes.
playbook for it, and
No.
because you're trying to be a good parent
That's
in
right.
caring for your kids, but then half the time or 40% of the time or 30% of the time, they're with somebody who you're trying to emotionally unravel yourself from. I mean, it's like the
Mm-hmm.
hardest thing in the world. So
Yeah.
sometimes, when you know that prolonged conflict after a divorce is what actually messes up the kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier to go the codependency route for survival and
That's right.
to keep conflict at bay. And so, and this is where it becomes so hard to untangle yourself. But do you think that in a relationship where someone ends up being codependent, do you think that there is an intent on the other person's part to make them that way, or is it just the blend of misaligned personalities?
I think it is, you know, I just don't think anyone gets to be non-codependent right now. I just don't, and it's like I don't actually think it's on purpose. I think a lot of folks mimic the marriage that their parents were in
Yeah.
until they get a clue,
Well,
and it's
yeah.
like right? And it's just
Yeah.
like and the same thing. It's like mimicking how you were parented until you seek an outside source of information to do it differently. So it's like for me, the reason why I like to all my clients that come to me, it's like the playing field is leveled. Everybody's innocent because finding out who's wrong and right is a distraction from doing your own work. So
Now you're
if you
speaking
are
my
like,
language,
yeah,
girlfriend.
if you are like, they're like this and I'm like this and they did this, it's like you are never going to be undistracted enough to get clear about what is mine to do? What do I even want?
Mhm,
How do I want to feel in this
mhm,
relationship because you're
mhm.
so busy, outside of yourself, messing with everybody else, very innocently. It's like, really, I can't stress it enough is like if you just let yourself off the hook and everybody else off the hook, you have a clean playing field,
Right, absolutely, and
right?
how much time we waste trying to pin the blame on other people to avoid doing the work for ourselves. I
Yes.
mean, this is people ask me. I went back to school recently for a master's in marriage and family therapy, and people
Hmm.
ask me why I chose that versus social work or just mental health counseling. And I love like the underlying philosophy of marriage and family therapy is that nothing happens on its own, right? Like
That's right.
everything is based off of communication with another
That's
person,
right.
whether
Yeah.
in our family or in an intimate relationship. And like it takes two to tango, basically, is what I'm
That's
trying to
right.
say. And so as soon as we can like put that to the side and say, okay, we both played a role here. How do we undo this or how do we fix
That's right.
this? If you can't do that, you're wasting time. But anyway, I digress. So do you think pre-divorce, if someone is in a relationship where one person is codependent and the other person holds more power, do you think that can be fixed and lead to a healthier relationship? Or do you think it's an indication that this is not a good relationship, it needs to end?
I think anybody at any time can totally change if they want to.
And you think
Period.
a relationship can be salvaged?
Yes.
So, like, you know that saying, men marry a woman hoping she won't change, and women marrying a man hoping he will change. In
Yeah.
hetero relationships, this is the
Yeah.
same pattern we see all the time when a relationship ends. Let's say the woman is codependent, and now she's like, fuck that. I'm going to be my own woman in this
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
And homeboy is like, what's happening? Who are you? Like,
Yeah.
how does that work out?
Well, I would be curious if, they could get clear on why they're together and what's the point, you know? And it's like, because so much of codependency is about defense, they would have to go in the opposite direction. So homeboy would have to go, whoa, I love this person. And how can I align myself to receive her exactly as she is? That would require him getting over himself a
Right, putting the
lot,
ego aside. Yes, for sure.
and I would say the same for her, of just like in the dynamic that you're talking about is like, is it safe for me to be exactly as I am? And it's her that gets to decide if she is safe or not. It's like,
Mhm.
if I'm going to be safe for myself, I got something I can work with. If I'm waiting for other people to make me feel safe, that's you're giving your power to somebody else.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I'm always interested in when I'm working with couples is something that sounds like, I am very interested in finding out what my part is in this relationship and what I can do to tell the truth about myself and be vulnerable with the person that I love,
Vulnerability is everything for
you know?
sure. Do you see, is it like a gender thing, or are women typically more codependent than men, or
No, at this stage of the game, it's like, I mean, there are a lot of vast generalizations I like to make around gender and what's like this and what's like this. And, now that I'm sort of years into it and have had a bunch of like non-binary and trans clients too, it's like everyone's got the same stuff.
everyone's codependent, right?
Everybody's got the same stuff. Yeah. Everybody is afraid to be vulnerable. Everybody is afraid to tell the truth. Everybody is afraid to say the thing that they're not saying, because the big terror for human beings everywhere is that the love will be taken away,
Oh my God.
that they will do something and the love will be taken away and they will be seen in some way that they cannot control, you know?
That is the sound bite right there. Holy
Yeah.
moly. That is
Yeah.
so real, Erica. Okay, so now we're divorced. The love was
That's
taken
right.
away.
Well, okay. Was it? Does it
It,
have to be?
that's
Good
a
question.
good question, and
That's
100%
right.
for me, I always say I still very much love my ex-husband.
That's
I
right.
just love him in a different way, just not as
That's
my
right.
spouse, right?
You can
But
love someone and not want anything to do with them.
absolutely. And sometimes the greatest love is walking away from that
That's
person,
right.
right?
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
but now you recognize, oh my God, being divorced from this person still feels like I'm married to them because holy shit, I'm codependent.
That's right.
What do I do now? How do I break that after divorce when that other
That's right.
person isn't going to go sit on a couch with you and help you through this part, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so what do you do then?
So I would say that there are some straight out the gate baseline practices that you can have. One is, your feelings are not an emergency, and your ex's feelings are not an emergency. They're feelings. So what I think we're taught in the United States is like, we have a feeling, we got to do something about that shit
Mhm,
right now. We're either going
mhm.
to make it someone else's problem or we're going to make it a problem. It's a thing to be fixed, instead of learning how to be with yourself through the organic weather of your feelings. It's like, shit's going to be really different for a while because you're divorced. You have a brand new life you know nothing about.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then I think for people, a really good tool is walking around asking themselves, probably for the first time ever, if they're not distracted from themselves by a partnership, what do I want? How do I want to feel? How do I want to be? Do I like how I'm behaving? Does this feel good to me? Right. And beginning to heal their relationship with the truth. Because here's the deal: if you are codependent, which everybody is to some varying degree, you're lying all of the time to most of the time. Okay. And it's not big, massive lies, it's little lies. Sure, that's okay. Yeah, I'll do that. No, that's not a problem. No, that's fine. And really, because it's like that's part of the management,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
people who got divorced, usually you want to ask yourself, how long was I done with this marriage actually
Mhm.
before I
That's such a good
busted a
question.
move?
Yeah, yeah, and
Right.
and for the women who choose to leave marriages, then they're often shamed like, "Look how quickly she moved on," or
That's right.
"What kind of midlife fucking crisis is she having? She cut
That's
her
right.
hair, she's, getting tattoos," and
That's
then
right.
and the person themselves know, "No, this isn't a midlife crisis. This is me finally getting to be me. This
That's
is
right.
this is me finally stepping into what I know was best for me all along that I felt like I couldn't bring into my life because of the
Yeah,
person that I was with."
that's right.
This is amazing. So for my clients, it's very much the codependency kicks in or is hard to break because they just want to keep conflict at bay. So they will answer the text message right away that the
That's
ex
right.
the ex sends a question that they don't even have the right to ask anymore. And
That's
I'll say
right.
to my client, "Why did you answer that?" "Well, because I just if I gave him that information, he would leave me alone." "But what
That's
happened
right.
when you gave him the information?" "He didn't leave you alone." And then it was
Yeah.
another question and a problem and a
Yeah.
fight. And it takes a while before you realize, "Oh my God, I can put the phone down and walk away.
That's right.
I can put it
Yeah.
down and walk away." The feelings are not an emergency, like you
That's
said.
right.
For myself, I still have to practice this. If my
That's right.
ex asks me a question and I know he may not like the answer, you know what? I'm
That's
not
right.
answering right now
Yeah.
because I cannot have my day ruined at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and Americans, and I'm talking about myself here, is like we have a really shitty relationship with discomfort. We have been groomed straight out the gate that if you're uncomfortable, it's a problem. Have a soda, have a bag of chips, watch a movie, binge Netflix, have smoke weed, drink booze. It's like part of the feelings aren't an emergency is learning how to have a good relationship with discomfort. And
Mm,
we don't know how to do that. And again, everybody's innocent. It isn't a problem. But one of the things that a breakup will present you with probably is an opportunity to be really uncomfortable. And it's like in the text exchange that you're talking about, right? Is
yeah.
like, oh, okay, my ex-husband texted me. This is really uncomfortable for me. This
Mhm.
feels like an emergency for me. And I'm going to make a decision to not abandon myself and be with myself through this set of feelings I'm going to have until I'm clear that I want to respond. And I'm going
Mhm.
to ask myself, can I respond in a good way? And if not, leave it and feel how uncomfortable that makes me and decide that that shit isn't a problem. I'm
Yep.
just uncomfortable. This is going to change.
Yep. Yep. And I also want to point out in a lot of hetero relationships, men will say, "Hey, happy wife, happy life," right? And then these same men end up having a lot of resentment or end up having affairs. And this sense of knowing and in doing the work that I do has really opened my eyes now that I'm in a second marriage. Like when my
Yeah.
husband says, "I don't care, whatever you want." I'm like, "No, no, no. You
Yeah.
do
That's right.
care. And it's not whatever I want. I want you making a decision on this because my
That's right.
biggest fear is that like happy wife, happy life. And the other person wakes up in 10 years and is like, oh, wait, I gave you the opportunity to
That's
be
right.
happy. I haven't done that yet." So if you are engaging in a new relationship after
Yeah.
divorce, I beg of you to let the other person get mad at you, have an opinion. The problem
Yeah.
also is anyone who doesn't agree with you is gaslighting you and is now a narcissist.
Right. Which
So,
is,
right.
yes,
Social
it's a
media
whole
has
other, that's
fucked
a
up
whole
our
other
perspective.
podcast. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I always say to my clients, like, allow this person to have a different opinion than you. It doesn't make them a bad parent. It doesn't make them
No.
vindictive. It
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
make
right.
them a narcissist, because
That's
everyone
right.
has decided that's the word. It just means that you guys don't play on the same field anymore.
Yeah. And that okay. And so the other aspect of codependency is you basically have to make everything about you.
Yeah.
You know, you have to insert yourself in the center of everything. So it's like, oh, my husband disagrees with me. It's because I'm blah, blah, blah. Right.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, if you enter a new relationship, I fucking dare you, tell the truth all the time. You know, it's like my husband and I have a very non-codependent relationship. So I will say, can you blah, blah, blah? Will you blah, blah, blah? And he'll be like, no, baby, I don't want to do that. And that's
Does he
it.
say it just like
That's
that?
it. Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
he?
He
I
kind of,
like it
I
like
know
that.
I make him sound like Elvis, but he does sort of talk like that.
What came to mind for me was like a hot lumberjack man from the South. But
Well, he is a giant ex-football player from Ohio. So close.
close. Okay. Midwest. All right. It was close.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, it
yeah.
sounded good.
Yeah,
Go
yeah, yeah.
figure.
Yeah, but it's like we have that agreement that we get to love each other and leave each other alone. There's no
Mm,
need to manipulate. And like if he doesn't want to do something, I honor that for him. And I know that if I'm like, here's the deal, I really need you, this is really important, like he will actually do everything he can. You know, so there's a lot of truth telling, there's a lot of leaving each other alone, which, you know, it took me a long time to learn that love is not actually living up another person's ass.
no, it is not. And I was so
I
guilty
know.
of that in my first marriage, Erica.
Same.
Because I didn't have a healthy example of love growing up. My parents were divorced. It was toxicity all the time. I thought, okay, we got to go to the supermarket together, and then we got to,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah.
be together instead of having girls' nights and guys' nights. And it
Yeah.
just, it destroyed.
Hmm.
Like I projected this idea onto my ex that was not only not what he wanted, and not
Yeah.
even what it should have been. And I created almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But you're right. I think some of the best, what my husband now always thanks me for, is letting him be him and letting him do.
Yes.
You want to go to the casino
That's
for the
right.
day? Go.
Enjoy
Go.
yourself. So,
Go.
yes.
Why?
Well, it's
I tell you
very,
no, and then you sit here on your hands resenting me. No,
yeah.
go,
Yeah,
please.
that's it. Yeah. And I think the way that we have all been taught about love, you know, and I also want to say it's like rom-coms are really entertaining and it's a head fuck, you know,
Yeah,
because it's like I grew up watching all of these movies that were like, and the man comes, and then finally you want for nothing because the only thing that there is some dude that shows
right.
up and he's great, you know, and there's just like so much programming that teaches you that love is someone doing everything that you think and say that they should do. Same with parenting, you know, like a good parent is someone that can get their kids to do anything, and good kids are kids who do everything that,
I
you know,
was
it's all control, control, control,
I was going
right?
to bring that up. Like, there's so much. I follow so many parenting accounts and experts, and so much of
Yeah.
what they talk about is not having to fix your child's feelings all the time.
No.
And it's like your ex, and you have to think of your ex after a split as like the other child for all intents and purposes. You don't have to like, they're allowed to be uncomfortable, they're allowed to be disappointed in you,
That's
they're
right.
allowed to be mad, they're allowed to be all of these things, and none of it is your job ever. And so
That's
anyway,
right. Yeah.
I
Well, and
digress.
also seeing people, okay, seeing human beings as powerful and autonomous instead of broken and whatever shit you're making up about them. You know, it's like the other reality is like, we don't know shit about anybody. And this
Hmm.
is what scares us. You
Hmm.
know, I think that, you know, the not being able to leave people alone, it's just, it's a very fear-based practice. And it's all right. It's all right. It's not a problem. But like learning how to trust the love and learning how to trust that someone knows exactly what they're doing and they don't actually need you to do anything about them. And like side note, if they do, they can ask,
And it's the hardest thing to learn in co-parenting, but also the most important.
right?
Yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
like,
I just preach, because that is what I'm teaching, and that is what I had to really learn for myself
that's
also.
right. That's
This
right.
is such valuable advice. So you work with clients virtually, or is this like a local Boston thing?
No, I don't live in Boston,
Oh,
thank God.
are you in Ohio now?
No, oh my God, no.
Where the hell
I'm in
are you, Erica?
California.
Oh,
Jesus. I was just
wow.
in Ohio for a week. It's great, and I'm happy I don't live there. No, I live in California. I have lived in California for 30 years. I have no idea why I still fucking talk like this.
Because
Here, it's here to stay.
it's nice. It's nice. It's really nice. You're authentically you.
That- this is it. This is what you
I
get. Yeah, I do a lot of virtual.
A lot of virtual. Do you run any groups? Like what can
Yes,
people okay, tell
I
me about
run
them.
6-month codependency groups, and you're in it for 6 months because at the end of 6 months, you are barely getting a stat. So it's every week for 6 months. I'm about to enroll in July, and it is the ultimate commitment to learning how to show up, be yourself, be vulnerable, be listened to, and, connect with people. And you will find out everyone is working on the same stuff. It's like, we think our material is so unique and special, and it's all the same. And,
Would it
we have a lot of fun.
would it be most helpful for people who are in a codependent relationship or coming out of one?
No one's coming out of one unless they're absolutely learning how to learning behavior and tools that's 100% non-codependent. It's like you can come in at any time and you will absolutely have tools that will change every relationship in your life for the better, especially the one with yourself. It's like you're going to learn how to trust yourself and not abandon yourself and tell the truth to yourself, and it's like the only reason I would give anybody for unraveling from codependent programming is because you will be able to give and receive more love than you ever have in
Oh
your
my
life.
God. I love it. I almost want to do this. I mean,
Yeah, it is the only it's the byproduct of it, and in the meantime, it's like you will learn how to have really hard feelings, not make them a problem. You're going to learn how to mind your own business, and you're going to learn how to leave people alone and let them be who they are while you are allowing yourself to become in a loving way exactly who you are. And all of this is going to take place knowing that everybody's innocent. There are no victims. There are no perpetrators. You are the boss of yourself as soon as you say you are, and you stop giving your power away to everybody else. And you can simultaneously say what's true for you, mind your own business, and be very mindful and aware that you have a powerful impact on the people around you and your relationships. All
okay.
those things simultaneously exist at the same time. It's not one or the other. It's not me or you. It's us.
This
And
isn't
no one's fucking going anywhere. So let's learn how to be together in relationship in a good way. Let's learn how to do that.
if you needed to hear this today, people, I know I mean, I did too a little bit, but if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, this woman just gave me chills. This woman just gave me chills. Go check out what is your website?
It's www.ericawright.org, EIKAWRIGHT.org.
And it will obviously be linked. When does your July programming start? Because I want to get this out and make sure
Yeah, the
people have
first
time.
week,
Okay.
first week of July.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. This is such great stuff. Where can they follow you on social media?
Erica Wright HCD on Instagram, and then I have a TikTok account, but I never go on it. I have someone that does that for me. I'm terrified of
Hate
TikTok.
it. Hate it. I just feel like let's leave that to the younger generation. Let's have our
Please
own
have it.
thing, Erica.
Have it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's
Just
all
send me the
yours.
funny stuff.
Right. For sure. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I know this episode either really woke you up or helped you realize that you probably came out of something you really needed to come out of. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Erica. You know where to find me, MichelleDempsey.com. Check out our next co-parenting mastery group happening the second to last week in July, 4 days of really intense co-parenting, how to, what to do, when to do it, and a dive into parenting plans. If you're interested in becoming a certified moving on method coach, our next training is in September. So check that all out, and we'll see you next time on Moms Moving On.